I have one here.
You don't, yeah, you don't remember. Oh, sorry. That wasn't-
I printed out the rates. Oh, I don't think I have that. Printing off Chelsea has
I'll have to check. I gotta be honest.
Okay. That's after So did you just make that on that page too? Like I just, on the thing, yeah, I already had done some 3-month totals. Oh, yeah, and I
Mute this.
Does anybody else want to? It's just the agenda.
and I have this. So.
I'm sorry. I have, oh, you have the rates written down too. I have the rates. I'm gonna put them up on the screen, but does anybody see the rates? Yeah, that's where I write.
Oh, so there's a message. I called the first time to say to the client. But the
Yes.
iPad, I think it was about,
Yes.
maybe about that. There's 2 iPads.
I didn't think that.
Maybe someone calling, they wanted our passwords.
Okay.
Oh, okay, that's good. So that sounded good. although
I think we're ready. Are we unmuted here?
Okay.
Okay. All right, great. Is everybody ready? Okay, great. Thank you. So good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Health meeting on Tuesday, April 12th at 9:30 a.m. And thank you, everyone, for joining in the room here and also remotely. This is our first trial at using the OWL to allow for hybrid participation in our meeting. So all 3 Board of Health members are present here in the room. And we also have our Board of Health staff as well as Diane Legier here from our housing and food inspector. So first order of business is public comment. So if you, oh, okay, so we have someone to, Ms. Braccio has her hand raised. And
Good morning, everyone. Hi, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Perfect. This is really exciting. I wanted to thank you guys for, in a sense, being a guinea pig for trying this out. We're really excited to get everybody back in person. The only thing I will say is if a bunch of you are talking at the same time, like before you started, it's really hard to hear anybody. It's just a bunch of garble. So I would caution anybody in the room to not talk. When you're speaking individually, though, it sounds great. And have a great meeting. I'm really excited for you guys and excited for all of us to get back in person. And that's it for me. Have a great meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else for public comment? Okay. Next is the meeting minutes on 3/25. Did you get a chance to read those?
I did.
Any changes?
I didn't.
Okay. Is there a motion to accept those as presented? Yes. So say something. So say to move. Say so move. So move. There you go. All right. Second.
And I second vote aye.
Okay. and Mount SBI, Sacra.
Aye.
Oh, we don't have to do that.
That's what I'm confused.
Sorry.
That's why I didn't know what I was doing.
Sorry.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, so next is the food permits. So Diane was nice enough to do a comparison for us on what we're charging versus what other towns are charging. So Diane, do you kind of want to walk through the recommendation and how you came up with that?
Sure.
Oh, and you know what? I'm also going to share this on the screen so that everybody can see online and in the room. Give me 1 second. Okay. Can everyone see that? Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Diane.
Okay, so Heather and I have been talking about the fees and how this was kind of, we're doing a two-step process. We're revising all the paperwork as well as all the fees. Because a lot of the paperwork, a lot of your permit applications were very vague and didn't have the necessary information. And in doing so, we were looking at the fees, and a lot of the fees were relatively low based on, as you can see, especially your close neighbors. And your fees really want to reflect the time involved, and that wouldn't just be the inspector's time, but that would also be Barbara's time in processing the paperwork. Otherwise, it's kind of a losing situation. So as a whole, we didn't go up a whole lot across the board, but we did kind of find middle ground with what other towns are charging. And we also added some new fees that are very common. They're commonplace in most communities. They just hadn't been used here. I think the only real big jump would be in the food permit establishments, 41 and over went up quite a bit, but that's really in line with, as you can see, what everybody else is charging. And some of the additions include bakeries. We didn't have anything under bakeries, frozen dessert manufacturing, sushi bars. You had nothing there, but a sushi bar is a high-risk establishment. As Heather and I can attest, we spend a lot more time there. There's a lot more paperwork. There's a whole different set of guidelines for inspecting sushi bars. So it's just a much more time-intensive situation. So that's why we added that fee. And then we also, and I think that I skipped a P on the non-compliance at the bottom, but then it's supposed to say non-compliance. And what that is in the event of, I've been out at an establishment, I go back once. The major violations, it would have to be something that would be an imminent health risk for me to have to even go back on a reinspection. So now I've gone out on that reinspection and I'm continuing to see those high risk behaviors. It's really, really appropriate that you start charging any inspection after the first one. And so we came up with the non-compliance fee, which is $150. So that would only be after that. You get one freebie, and then after that one, it's $150 per inspection. There's a couple places now that I've been to 6-7 times. So that's really a loss for the town. And I don't think there's much incentive to correct things. The second non-compliance is if people are bringing in, everybody in town has received the food safety manual. Everybody in town understands the requirements for, they're very well outlined in the manual. So this is if they're bringing in unauthorized equipment, which we see all the time, or they're operating in a way that they're not licensed or permitted for. And that would be a $250 fee. And every time I go back and it's not corrected, it would be $250 more. And that's really standard, and that's a really important one because otherwise people kind of can modify what they're permitted for over time if they're not held accountable. And in case there's any question, the special process review, those are not all that common, but we are with the new establishment, Nan's Market that's going in, they're gonna be using time as a public health control. So that means that they have to document their procedures that they're gonna be using and submit them to me for review. And that's a variance that's granted. So any kind of variance, air reduced, oxygen reduced packaging, anyone with a HACCP plan, anyone using time as a public health control, that's a special plan review. It's a quick review, so it's a $50 fee.
Is the non-compliance for the unauthorized equipment kind of like a fine more than a fee?
It's yeah, it really is. It's a deterrent is our hope.
Okay,
And it could be unauthorized equipment or operations.
okay. Okay,
And that would be if someone's, say someone, everyone has to submit their menu when they first open. Obviously, menus are gonna change over time. But if they opened as a pizza place and decided to start serving sushi, you know.
yeah,
Or they opened as, you know, a retail shop and started cooking burgers. So that's what we're talking about.
and do these fees include 2 inspections a year from the town? Is that what the intent is?
That is, and that's why it's critical that we have those, the non-compliance and
Yes.
inspections, because what we're finding is there's certain establishments that have just going out to
Yeah,
repeatedly. And that's important because we want people to be safe,
right.
but it's gonna, you know, it's costing money.
So in your opinion, and I think I know the answer to this, but just to make sure. So for the ones that you've gone out multiple times now, you know, obviously we're not going to go back charge for the times that you've gone to them, but do you feel like you're at a point now where it is appropriate to be charging
Absolutely.
for the re-inspections? And I think we just need to make sure they're on notice that, you know, now we've increased, or we've added some fees that are effective as of today, if that's what your recommendation is. And so that they're aware.
But
that this is
Diane and
coming.
I are gonna get email.
Yeah,
today.
okay,
And send it to everybody.
great. Oh, okay, perfect.
Mhm.
Okay.
And we were also gonna talk about, the third party oversight in the email so that people are on notice that, you know, we've been working with you, we've given you the tools for success.
Yeah.
If you choose, you know, to not follow standard protocols, and these are federal,
Yeah,
then you're gonna be held accountable first with the non-compliance fees, but then secondary to that would be, requiring the third party oversight.
Right,
Okay.
so we decided to email that out today and
Yeah.
then talk with folks, you know, in a few days.
okay, great.
When we looked at limited service, limited retail food service establishments, does that include all our convenience stores and gas stations?
That-
Okay.
It would, except for, say, for example, the Chop, the one that was just renamed, the Golf on Route 9.
Mhm.
They have food there. They have hot foods that they serve, and they do a remarkable job. I was just there. And they did a great job. But and Cumberland Farms is another example. They heat up pizza. So that's actually treated as a restaurant because it's a food service.
Right.
But any of the smaller, like the Sperry's Mart or the Stony Brook Market, those would be the limited retails.
Okay. And we historically have not charged for residential kitchens, is that right?
25, that was an error. I
Oh,
believe it's
okay.
25
Okay.
currently.
Got it.
Oh,
Okay,
I'm sorry, but then,
Oh, okay.
okay.
And that should be 100 because it does require the oversight. And with a residential kitchen, they typically have to be after hours.
Right.
I've been going
Yeah,
out, we've
Saturdays.
offered 2
Yeah.
Saturdays that I've worked to go out and do the residential kitchens.
And can you, what is the third party involvement? Have you heard of that?
So a third party, it's really putting someone on probation. It's a probationary period. So say, for example, we're seeing a lot of violations that would endanger public health. And we've been back twice now, 3 times, and we keep seeing those repeated violations. So then we would mandate that they get a third-party educator auditor. So there's a lot of really great services in the state of Massachusetts that are private. And they would go in once a month for either a period of 3 months or 6 months, depending on the violations and the risk. And they would have to go in and do basically what I do. They do a very comprehensive food inspection, but then they also work with them on how to be safer moving forward. And so that would be at the expense of the establishment.
I see.
And that's again, standard practice for establishments that just aren't getting there. And I've seen some remarkable improvement. I think when people realize, okay, this is where we're at, things change.
Okay, thank you.
And that third party would have to be approved by us.
Okay,
We let them select, but we would have to approve it.
okay, great. Thank you for clarifying that.
One more question, and I don't know if other towns do it, is there like an occurrence fee? So say you've gone out and, everything was fine in your routine inspection, but then there's a complaint filed by a citizen. How does that work with occurrence fees?
So I think we should definitely add that.
Just a
I
curiosity.
mean, because
I think-
we do go inspect again. if
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah, I mean,
complaint.
we definitely would have to, I would call it, a complaint fee or, well,
I have a
or
question about that,
if
actually.
it's.
If you go and you don't
Nothing
find
there,
anything,
Right,
like,
then I wouldn't charge them.
okay,
I would say if we
Oh,
were
I see.
to,
There's a
Right.
finding.
Right.
If there's a finding.
if there's a finding, I do think that that's an appropriate measure
Mhm.
to charge. I would say the same as the non-compliance, only if there's a finding, because we found, I received, oftentimes complaints from former employees that are disgruntled or, and I go out and everything's just fine. But if we had, we had in the boroughs as a whole, we had a rash of foodborne illness outbreaks recently. So that's all the more reason why this stuff is so important.
So do you want to add that today or do?
I definitely think, if the board finds it appropriate, I think
Yeah,
that's
I think
a
so.
really important one to add.
And how much would you do that at?
I would do
The
150 if there's a finding.
If there's a
So
finding.
that's sort of occurrence fee if not compliant.
Right.
and would it be any finding or would it be like a
It would be-
major
It would
finding?
be a major finding. It would have to be a condition deemed to endanger.
Anything else? Anybody else? I'm just gonna go to this for a second to make sure nobody in the audience is raising their hand. Okay, so we're ready to vote? Okay, so I move that the Southborough Board of Health accept the recommended fees as presented today with the addition of a complaint with a major finding fee at $150.
I second the motion and vote aye. Second.
I vote
Okay, so all in favor?
aye.
Okay. We'll get it. We gotta reverse what we just totally trained ourselves to do. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Diane.
Thank you so much, Dan. That was-
So that's for the rates for permits and the reinspection fee, and then for the request for food inspections to the Board of Health page on the town website. So I had a thought on this that, and I don't know if you've seen this before or not, but this is essentially like if a resident or whoever had a question about a food inspection, like it's all public record, right? So we just need to have a mechanism for somebody to request that information. What if we did it through the public records request? Or do you think it should be a totally separate request form on our page?
I mean, honestly, I think you should just post the inspections on your page.
Oh, I'm
A
fine
lot
with
of
that.
towns- A lot of
Okay.
towns do that, that you just,
There's an awful lot of them though, and you do.
no,
I
it's
mean,
moving
I
forward.
thought they would send in a request to me by email, and I'd set it up with Jay, that I could send them the report, their inspection report.
Well, I think my biggest thing is I'm all for educating the consumer as well.
Yeah.
And I really encourage people to go and look at those inspections before they make their food choices. Because I think it's really important people know where they're eating. And like I said, we've given everybody all the tools
Yeah.
to be successful, and we're continuing to do so. And we have to first say that the majority of places in Southborough are doing excellent. We have a lot of amazing places in town that are just doing an outstanding job, and people should see that.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, there's just one page that you prior reports, and you just would keep the most recent report.
I don't have an issue with putting it out there.
But is that a lot of manpower, like putting it
So,
up and
I mean, I don't
putting a new
know,
one up?
No, it's
No.
not.
Okay.
It's
Then
just,
it's
it's
not.
gonna take time for me to do it, but
I'd be willing to help you with that.
I think I got it. Just
Yeah.
have to scan.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I think you're right. I think the public
Not too bad.
has the right to, like, they should be able
Yeah.
to do
You're
it without requesting it.
Yeah.
I think that's,
As long as it's not too much.
yeah, I think, and then we would just overwrite the new one as you
Yeah.
do the second or
Yeah.
whatever of the year. Okay,
We could make like a new title.
no, what you do is you take down the old one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we could make just like a new title on the side page of the Board of Health, like food inspections.
I do it right on the food page.
Okay.
just especially where it's all public record, I think.
yeah.
Transparency.
Absolutely.
Do you think we need to vote on that?
I
Yeah,
wrote it.
okay. All right, so I move that the Southborough Board of Health add all current food inspections to the website.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We got it.
It was like, Any-
So I don't even have to second?
no, you did
Okay,
say,
all right.
somebody seconded it, right?
Yes, I
Yeah.
did.
No, you did second.
But then we just go on.
Yeah.
All right.
Anything else?
That's everything.
Awesome. Thank you so
Thank
much
you so
for
much.
all you're doing for us.
Thank you
We
so much.
definitely appreciate it. And I'm sure the businesses appreciate getting feedback.
Yes,
So-
yeah. And like I said, the majority are just doing an outstanding job, and people should know,
Great.
you know.
Thanks, Diane.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
Thank you.
Okay. So next is, I'm just gonna stop sharing my screen. Okay. Next is the FY23 budget. So I just wanted to give you an update on where we're at with the warrant. So the warrant's getting signed by the select board tonight. The budget that is in the warrant is the budget that this board recommended, which took out the ARPA request that we made. So select board agreed with, the last meeting that we had with the select board is still where it stands on the select board side.
Okay.
So it's a total budget less than 50,000, which is what we requested. Okay. So the advisory committee voted against our budget unanimously last week. Nope, against. Okay, so so they want the select board to use more ARPA money for Board of Health. The select board voted unanimously to not do that. So I think I'm projecting what's gonna happen is that advisory is gonna hold the Board of Health budget on town meeting floor and make an amendment to reduce it probably by Taylor's increase in the actual budget from FY22 to FY23, so whatever that number is. So I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that. So I think what we should do is be prepared for 1 or 2, or however we want to do it, to stand up at town meeting and explain why we came up with what we came up with, what our intentions are. And, you know, that regardless of, you know, kind of what happens long-term, we thought this was a fiscally responsible way of increasing over time and providing the residents the services that we've been providing, not in the operational budget, and we're trying to phase that in, you know, obviously with adding the nurse, assistant health director, outreach coordinator position to the SAP, you know, we're trying to go through the process and do it the right way. So thoughts on who wants to be prepared to speak at town meeting, or how you want to do it. I'm just guessing that we're gonna have to.
So I mean, we're gonna, can you have, like, how do you have a meeting with all of us that's just to discuss what we're gonna say? Because we have to post it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
At town meeting?
yeah, like if we wanted to meet to decide what we're gonna say, who's gonna
We can
present
do,
it.
you want to do another meeting before town meeting to talk about this?
I
think so.
Okay, let's do that. Okay, So-
'cause I mean, it's no surprise that advisory, I'm just thankful the selectmen
Right.
aren't against.
and just to be
It's like,
clear, I abstained from that particular
Okay.
vote, so it was 401. So it
Okay.
was unanimous, but I just
Okay,
abstained.
yeah,
Okay.
I was afraid we were gonna have to defend.
So, you know, and I think,
I hope no one's allergic to.
I know, we
lost
were just
right there,
watching
the
that.
B, there's a B on the.
Oh. Okay,
I'll just watch it. Yeah.
hopefully it doesn't get picked up by the owl. Okay. So town meeting's May 4.
Okay,
So, could you meet, like the week of the 25th?
Yeah.
It's school vacation week next week,
Right.
so I would prefer not to do that, given the chaos. and-
yeah, I could meet that week.
You can?
Yeah.
So is there a preferred day? I know Tuesdays are decent for you.
Monday morning, I have another meeting.
Okay.
So usually Monday mornings, with our meeting with the substance use
Correct.
coalition is
Yeah.
Monday morning, so
Okay,
I know I'm off, could you do Monday afternoon?
I can probably do later Monday morning.
Right, it ends at 10.
It ends at
That's
10,
true.
so if we can meet Monday at 10, I'd have to meet virtually, but I.
That's fine, we can
meet
do
Monday at
virtual.
10.
we can do virtual through July 15th. I just
Oh,
figured
okay.
we try, I mean, we don't have to do this
Okay.
every time now. I just
Okay.
figured we
Yeah.
try.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
okay.
So do you
Monday,
wanna
I'm only
do-
available virtually, but I can do it later Monday.
All right, so let's do 4:25. You want to do 10:30 to give yourself
Yeah,
a little
just
bit of
a
a
little bit.
buffer? Does that work for you?
that
Yeah,
works
so
for me.
10:30 on.
The
10:25. That should be fine. I may have a kid, but. Okay, and so then we can also figure out if what I can do is clean up I'll update our last report.
Yeah.
And include our stats, like we can update our stats before that meeting and have it, I can ask the town clerk to post it as part of the meeting documents for town meeting. So that way that can be our report. And I think it should just be one page and just quick and so that
Yeah,
people understand, get the gist of what we're
Yeah,
looking to do.
exactly.
Okay,
Otherwise we lose them. and-
I know, I don't want it to, okay. So that's the update on the warrant, from the budget perspective. So then, I also wanted to talk about the SAP article.
Okay.
So that's been finalized. I don't think that we've met since the last personnel board meeting.
Just briefly about something that Friday.
Oh, yeah,
meeting.
right,
That was
right.
quick.
Okay, so, just to give you an update, because I don't think you were there at the last personnel board
No, I
meeting.
wasn't.
Okay, so they voted, and I think this was all in the same meeting, they voted to accept a grade 7. Okay, thank you. Position for the nurse, public health nurse, assistant, health, I'm gonna have to come up with some acronym for this.
Right.
Outreach
Right.
coordinator position.
Right.
And they voted to accept our request to go above midpoint.
Okay.
So that included Taylor's FY22 salary plus the 3%.
Okay.
And also accepted our request for 3 weeks vacation.
Okay.
So I think from that perspective, that's it, the 3 weeks vacation and the salary amount would not be included in the SAP article. The salary amount will obviously be in the budget, but the SAP article will include an addition of that job title to the grade 7. So we just need to be cognizant of that when that article comes up. If there's any questions about that addition in the SAP, we may need to answer that at town meeting.
Okay,
Okay,
so
so,
that's just for the title, that's not
It's
for
just-
any money,
well, it's for the grade.
for the grade.
For the
Okay,
grade.
all right.
Yeah.
Right.
And can, I'm sorry, I hate to backtrack,
Go
but
ahead.
I'm not a money person.
Yeah.
So what is advisory trying to do to tailors?
Yeah, so they want the selectmen to pay for Taylor the same way that we're paying for Heather through ARPA.
Oh,
Okay.
And not add it to the operational budget. Okay,
I just hope people understand the whole ARPA thing.
I know, yeah, I know. Yeah. Okay, SAP article or personnel board article, are we good on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we can talk about that on the 25th, if that comes up, who should address it.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll add that to that.
And I think the important thing is, we can all understand it, but like looking up appropriate messaging techniques. I mean, I think, in order to get the citizens to understand
Yeah,
Right.
why we need
Yeah.
this, and I think there's still maybe a significant lack of understanding. among the community.
I think yes and no. I mean, I think with, unfortunately, the number of people that Taylor's had to
Yeah.
speak
I
to.
would think.
I think-
one would
I
think.
think
I think
that,
a year has made a big difference.
I do too, and
Yeah.
I think, I think the outreach that she's been able to do with the schools,
Right.
like the meeting the private schools and the, like daycares, preschools, I think there's been more public knowledge. And, I also think even if it's been Isabella that has been talking to people, I think there's just more awareness
Okay.
around the department. I don't know if you think different.
No, I think, yeah.
Okay.
No, I think
I mean,
you're right.
that's helpful to know, because I
Yeah.
think, we're really trying to get the necessity of this out there
Exactly,
post-COVID. This is going to be needed post-COVID.
Yeah.
Just from our conversation before the meeting
I
started,
know.
the other public health reps are here. We have a
Yeah.
lot of other public health issues here
Right.
with COVID to deal with, and that's what we need.
So then town meeting in general, reminder, it's May 4th and probably May 5th. We're starting at 6:30, which is a little bit earlier than what we've historically started at, because I think we just know it's.
Holds for a long time.
Yeah.
It was for a long time.
And I think that the SAP articles and the budget articles are back to back. So I don't think that there's anything Board of Health related after those two. So my guess is that the second night will not have anything Board of Health related. Okay, just so you know, obviously.
Well, that's
we'd
good.
love
No,
to
if I have to come late because of work or something,
Right.
at least I'm not,
Right,
you know.
but definitely the
Missing any
first
Board of
night
Health
will
stuff.
be
Okay.
budget.
Perfect.
So what we can do is, depending on how our meeting goes on the 25th, we certainly can post before, if we need to touch base on anything. And it's out at Algonquin, which
Right.
is,
Yeah.
and so we can decide on the 25th if we think we would want to post, just in
Okay.
case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Text my husband to look at the calendar, and make sure nothing's on the 25th. is not happening.
Okay. And that's okay, if it, anything else on town meeting?
Do you have to vote for Heather to go?
No, I think I asked the clerk, right?
Yeah, Amy should, have you on a list. Okay, anything else town meeting related? No. Okay, great. COVID related topics, so I'll turn this over to Taylor and Heather.
Okay. So still, we haven't heard any updates, just so everyone knows, on the under fives yet, so, but we
Okay.
do have a tentative plan in place for when those do get approved,
How many people do you have pre-registered, do you know?
under 100.
Really?
Interesting. So,
The
right.
interest one, under 100.
Okay, so maybe we should, push that again? do you think? Or do you think-
I'll probably wait until it
Get
comes
closer.
gets closer.
Okay,
Once they start saying like, well, this week it will probably
Yeah.
be approved, I'll put it back out.
all right.
And then, so second boosters got approved for adults 50 and older. Yeah.
Yeah.
With, obviously anyone 65 and older is who we're really targeting. Um,
Have you been getting a lot of inquiries on
No.
that? No.
I have gotten one
Oh,
inquiry.
really? Okay.
Yeah. And we did host a clinic with Northborough last Friday.
Okay,
That was about 300 residents.
Right, so a good amount of Southborough came.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's a really great turnout.
We did have.
and this is for second boosters?
Second boosters for over
300?
50. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
then,
For
That's-
Southborough.
That's a lot.
That's very
and
impressive.
then next Friday,
The
the
22nd,
22nd,
we have
ours
another one.
is also, it's also filled.
With 300?
300.
Wow.
Yeah,
This is incredible. Both Moderna and Pfizer.
yes.
Yes.
Okay,
That's great.
so are we gonna do a third if we're selling out?
Yeah, I would consider doing a third if people were asking.
Okay,
And then I started yesterday setting up to reach out to our homebounds also.
Okay.
To see if they're interested.
okay,
We did reach out to,
Housing
senior
Authority.
housing.
Yeah.
Right, they only had a couple, so we may do them as homebounds,
Okay.
or we may do them, I think some of them can get to Northborough or something.
Or,
Okay.
or like Walgreens or something.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
okay, that's great.
My only concern is, you have to order the vaccine and it's basically in 300 doses. You can't do less than
Oh,
that.
okay,
So I want to make sure we have the interest before I order all that
Yeah.
vaccine and then it spoils.
yeah, okay,
Or do another combined.
Or do another combined,
okay,
like with Northborough.
yeah, okay,
Past week, there is a slight uptick in cases.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I've seen that, in the past week and a half. Nothing, it's not continuing to explode, but it did go up.
Make sure you speak up. everybody.
Okay,
Yeah, so cases definitely have increased over the past
About
week and a
10 days,
half, yeah.
Are they mostly mild symptoms?
Yes,
Okay.
mild symptoms,
that's good.
and it's all age groups.
All-
groups?
all age groups. Although
Decent
interestingly
number
enough,
of children.
last week, there was no one in the 20 to 30-year-old age group, random, but. Okay.
That's interesting because the state's the opposite. The
Right.
state data is the highest decades by far.
Well, that's
20
why
to
I noticed
25,
it. I
yeah.
thought it was so interesting. I don't know if that's because they don't live,
Yeah. they
as
definitely
many
research
people don't
as
live
far
here,
as
but
demographic.
yeah.
Okay,
Definitely a lot in kids. Yeah, and a lot in daycares right now.
So a lot of the under 5 population. you're
Yeah.
seeing the ones in daycare.
All mild symptoms, a lot of families.
Yeah.
And everyone recovers pretty quickly, which is great. I don't know if you want specific numbers or
No.
not.
I don't, unless they.
No.
I
No,
don't- I
great.
neither.
Any other COVID questions? Oh, the other thing that we did for vaccine clinics, sorry to back up a little bit, we had a pretty successful first
Oh,
dose
yes.
clinic for, we targeted English language learners
interesting,
in the
Okay.
schools.
yeah,
Because when we look at the data, that was mostly our population, our largest population that was
But there
unvaccinated.
was lower percent vaccination rate
okay,
in the population.
And we had a pretty successful clinic last Tuesday
night.
for first dose, and then some parents who were first dose, some boosters and parents, so it was good. I'd say we vaccinated first dose probably at least 25.
wow. So did you work with the schools?
Yeah.
to do
Correct,
targeted
yes.
outreach?
Very work with the schools.
So
and ELL.
the ELL
Yeah.
coordinator
Yep.
reached out to all the families.
Okay.
And
Great.
we had multiple interpreters there to
Yep.
help also.
So how did you get the interpreters?
So one of them
We
was
had
our
Ingrid,
clerk,
our Ingrid.
Yes, okay,
and then the ELL coordinator
coordinator.
also came.
okay,
Um,
great,
and we have an interpreter service
Yeah.
for other languages, which we didn't need.
okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Oh, that's great. Thank them for doing that. That's
Yeah.
great.
So
So-
the iPad thing, like you use at a hospital?
Exactly. So I would use it on my phone, you dial the number,
Yeah.
you know, before that.
We
Yeah.
use that.
Yeah.
All the time.
Oh, that's great.
And we have a second dose clinic in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Right, which
Yeah.
sort of leads us to the reappointing of the temporary clerks.
Yeah.
So currently, we have 3 clerks that they're finished on April 30th, their current
Okay.
contract.
Okay.
And Ingrid, like I said, is doing 2 clinics in April, because
Yeah.
we have the other Tuesday night, but it is in April. But in case under 5 clinics or the fall, I would imagine the
Yeah.
fall boostering, I thought if we could do till December.
Yeah. So when's our grant
Clerks.
through?
It's currently through September, right, and we have grant money to pay for the clerk.
Yeah.
It's through September, but I spoke with Metro West, I want to extend it till December, just in terms of the test kits for
Yeah.
the PCR machine. I'd rather have them have a later expiration date on them.
Okay.
So over the phone, they said I could probably extend it till December, but right now it's through September.
Okay.
But if we could appoint
Yeah.
clerks till December, and hopefully I can line that up. I imagine we may do clinics in October.
Right. So it's Ingrid.
Mans, Dina Zeibel,
Yeah.
and Marge Achilles.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Are we good to go with it?
Yes.
Okay, so I move that we extend the temporary clerks, Ingrid Vance, Dina Zeibel, and Marge Achilles through 12/31/22.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
I just want to say, thank you so much for that clinic that you did. I mean, that to me is like a shining example
I know.
of
Yeah.
the best public health that you can do to serve
Yeah.
an underserved population
Right.
in collaboration with the community. And I think when you look at all across the country, that's a population that everyone is struggling to get vaccines
Yeah.
to. So just
Yeah.
amazing work by everyone involved. So thank you, Heather and Taylor.
I have to
You're
say,
welcome.
it was probably one of the
It was
most
fun.
rewarding
It was
clinics that
rewarding.
we've done. Yeah.
And we
That's
ran it as a walk-in. The numbers weren't high. It is a little trickier to run
Yeah.
it that way, but that's how you get more all comers.
Yeah.
And
So did you register them on the fly?
Yeah.
correct. And that's
So we had an
So-
interpreter there
so-
that helped register
So
and go through the
helpful to have
questions.
Ingrid.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And it was just Southborough?
No,
It
in
was-
Northborough.
It was the school district.
Got
it.
Right.
And where do we do it?
The
Algonquin.
Algonquin.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, thank you.
I know.
That's great. Okay, anything else? on that topic? Okay. I'm just trying to make sure if anybody raises their hand too. I'm paying attention. Okay. Okay, so the report on board health duties for your 3-month numbers.
I emailed that yesterday and
Yeah.
I printed it out today. So I did want,
So give me 1 second. I'm going to share that, but I just have to go into my email first so you can see my screen.
No.
Not that I have an email. I just want to put it on the screen, Heather.
perfect.
I just forgot to print it.
There was a couple categories that we added. So when we started the tracking in July 2021, we have a couple other categories now. In our most recent 3 months was January to March 2022.
So let me just start sharing here. Hold on a second. So I'm sharing. See where it's- Okay, go ahead, sorry.
So we started in July 2021 with a tracking sheet that all 4 of us contribute to. And then I broke it down by 3-month intervals. I think we added a few categories later in the fall, but we have a section here that's mainly septic. And the, of note, Dennis spends a good amount of time doing consultations in person on the phone. You know, those numbers are fairly high. Septic was, I think, the most busy in the summer months, which
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
But it does still continue in the winter months.
Mhm.
The food, housing, and other inspections, the camp, medicals, and pools are all summer,
Yeah.
summer specific.
So the food applications, why are those spread over the year? Do we, Barbara, do you know if we just get them like, are they based on the original date that they applied for and it's a renewal on that?
You have your food establishments that have to renew by the 30th of April every year.
Okay,
You also have food trucks coming in throughout the year.
Okay.
You have the farmer's market,
yeah,
things like that. So those are the ones that.
Okay.
But the other ones have to be done, that are established on, they have to be done by the 30th of April.
so we actually should see the most in this next quarter coming up.
Yes.
Okay, got it. So that's a lot because we've already got,
I just got 2 more applications in today, so.
okay, okay,
They're making up, and I will start sending out reminders now that if they're not going to be established anymore, they need to let us know, or they're going to be charged a late fee.
Okay.
Yeah.
sorry.
Tobacco inspection, tobacco we'll discuss also on this agenda. The tobacco inspections through our Metro West Tobacco Control Division, they're aiming this year to get 2 in a year. So they actually did them in sort of May, June, so they're not on this form. They were done right before we started doing this form for the inspections.
Yeah.
And they actually went out like literally 2 days ago. They just did them again.
Thank you.
May. So, I mean, that's a year apart, and that's kind of what's kind of, I don't know if the word is mandated by the group, but at a minimum, they're doing one a year.
Yeah.
And then the compliance checks, they did those kind of in the summer.
Okay.
And I think they'll gear up to do those again soon too. So they have inspected right before this chart, and now they just inspected it in April.
Okay.
And
Great.
those are going well, yeah. In terms of the inspection, there were a few that were perfectly in alignment with recommendations. There was a number of establishments who didn't have manufacturer letters, which is supposed to kind of attest to kind of the product that they're selling. She said that was a common issue with retailers, but there was that at some of our inspections the past few days, so. All right.
Okay.
The phone call inquiries that go through Barbara that don't get, that she works with.
Yeah.
Barbara, lots of phone calls.
That's a lot of phone calls. Barbara.
Barbara is wonderful on the phone.
Yes, she
Mention
is.
that, amazing.
Thank
I mean,
you,
I think they
Barbara.
would want to call her just
Right.
because
Just to
she's so
chat,
nice
say
to
hi.
talk to.
Some do.
I was gonna say, I think some do.
But she's not angry. It's
Refreshing.
It is very refreshing. Okay. Communicable disease investigations. Yeah, I nearly fell off my seat yesterday when I did that. We had 589 COVID cases in January alone.
I believe that.
Yeah. So that's how we got that number of 745 for the quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was probably double that because
Yeah.
antigen tests started
Yeah, just started.
Exactly.
Yeah,
becoming
exactly.
Yeah.
acceptable form of testing.
Yeah. We don't COVID contact call. We ask, we do call the cases and ask them to notify their contacts, but occasionally the employees or some call may come through about contacts. COVID guidance for business, school, and departments, employees continues.
It's at least once,
Yeah,
at least once a
it's a
day.
little hard to track.
Yeah.
Because there was a number of calls, plus we go to the meetings like the MAT, Medical Advisory Team, go to meetings, so that continues. Foodborne investigations are rare, but then they are involved when we do get one. Tick-borne illness, the investigations, we now separated out versus tracking if it's something that we don't investigate. And we have gotten
That's
already
gonna
a few
go up.
this spring.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna go up.
I
Yeah,
can't believe
the ticks are already.
With your dog.
Yeah, her dog, yeah.
We, last week, just out in the yard,
Yeah.
like doing some yard work. That day that it was like 70 out a couple weeks ago, I picked up 16 ticks.
Wow,
from
and then
them.
I've had some bites myself,
Yeah.
and I come in and shout,
Yeah.
it's just, we go in
Yeah.
the trails and. it's-
Yeah, exactly. So we
Yeah.
definitely have had
Mhm.
some Lyme disease reporting, which we don't need to follow up on. And then other tick-borne illnesses we do follow up on.
Okay.
And then in March and April, we did have some influenza. Those are under tracking.
It's still actually going on.
And the influenza season has extended to the end of April.
Okay. This is great. Thank you.
I have one question, Heather, on that, but body art inspection. Do
Body
we
art.
charge for that? Because I didn't see that.
We do.
In Diane's thing, so it must be separate. right?
It's on the
Separate, yeah.
other fee schedule that we did in December.
Okay.
Right,
Yeah.
we did do it with the septic.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so you
Okay.
have to renew for your business and then renew for your own personal license.
I will forward this to advisory too,
Oh, good.
and the
Okay.
select board, if that's okay.
Yeah, do you want me
Okay.
to just add tracking to put like Lyme and influenza, just so
Sure.
that
Yeah.
they have a little. bit.
Yes, that'd be helpful. Okay. Thank you.
Are you just for information
Yes.
for them?
Because they'd asked when we met with them for our data, so I figure every quarter I'll just share it.
Okay, but this isn't, there's no way they're gonna change their.
No,
minds.
No, it's just that they, and I don't think that they're disagreeing that we need staff.
Right, it's the
Right,
way that
it's
we
the way
pay for it.
right.
Okay.
But I just think,
No, I
you
think
know,
they
the
should
more they know,
yeah,
I think it's just valuable
Information is
information.
knowledge.
Yeah,
right,
okay, mental health awareness month,
May is Mental Health Awareness
Yes.
Month. We had an excellent meeting yesterday with Youth and Family Service
right?
to cross-promote some events for May Mental Health Awareness Month.
Right.
I don't know if we want to go into, we're just looking at some other ways to work from our departments on mental health for our population, for our residents.
Okay,
We had, if you remember, last August, done a community survey, and our residents had noted their top health concern was COVID. Their second health concern was mental health.
Yeah.
So we are thinking of ways to approach it from our department. We discussed that with Youth and Family Service yesterday, and one thing we're looking into is promoting healthy lifestyles, nutrition, exercise, sleep and stress, potentially looking at a health fair for the fall.
okay.
Do we have on our website, like phone numbers to call if you're,
I think Youth
Yeah,
and Family
ambulance
Service
or-
does, but I certainly add
or you can even
something.
just say, please refer to youth and, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not saying we have to reinvent the wheel or
Yeah.
anything, but just so,
I did have a
Mhm.
COVID related one on there that I
Okay.
actually just took off.
okay.
I'm just updating our COVID page because there was a lot of stuff that wasn't applicable anymore on there. But I can certainly add something to say like, call this
Yeah.
line for
Okay.
XYZ. Yeah,
Okay.
that's easy enough to do.
One of the things I'm thinking of for May, and this may come up, is another Narcan training. If that's
Well,
something-
that was
that would
something
be
else
one
we
of the things
discussed
that
a
we could do,
lot.
right?
So a couple things on that. So, yes, there hasn't been a community Narcan training for years, apparently, according to Youth and Family was speaking yesterday. So there is looking at getting maybe 3 or 4 individuals in our town who would go to a train-the-trainer, and they would be able to train residents in Narcan use. So we're looking into potentially Taylor from the Board of Health and looking at a couple other folks, of Youth and Family Service at EMS who are trained at then to do potentially one-on-one training with residents who could sign up for that service. So we're looking at that. And also there is a settlement. I don't know if you've heard about this, the municipal settlement money.
Yeah.
Yes, we did hear about that meeting, right, that for Southborough.
Yeah.
That potentially we were going to apply with ideas from Board of Health, from Youth and Family Service.
And that was one of the main ones that we
you wanna
talked
look
about.
at. Yeah.
And this is all the nasal, the intranasal.
It would be intranasal, yeah.
I think, as we move forward, it'd be good to have funds, we have obviously our, emergency response personnel has in our can, but to put it in all our public buildings, like here, the library.
Yeah.
That should be having the role, having that can available. Yeah.
And
The
I,
schools already have it, but.
yeah, and I think with that settlement, this is a good way to use the money, but we're gonna put in like a proposal for it.
Okay, that's
um,
great.
With Youth and Family Service.
Are there any days in May that are significant for community events that we should be aware about for?
But I thought there was the proclamation at the select board.
There will be a proclamation on April 26th at the select board.
Oh, that's when we have our clinic.
Oh,
It's okay.
okay,
But we're at our clinic.
okay. So that will be ahead of the month. But is there anything else?
There's when are they doing that hike?
The hike, we want to cross promote that from our
Okay.
department with the hike. I believe it's May 15th, but I can't remember the
Okay.
exact day. It's a Sunday.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, our noise bylaw. You know what, I meant to send you.
I
The
did
warrant.
print it.
I forgot the warrant, sorry.
I did print it.
Okay,
Might
so
pull it up.
I'm gonna pull it up. So there's just one
Yeah.
section that I want to talk about. So give me one
So
second.
I can give the background.
Go ahead,
on
Heather,
the
you start while
section
I get,
When you pull that up.
go
So
ahead, yep.
the noise committee presented for the warrant, the proposed bylaw. And I think as we've discussed at other meetings, we included section 9, which existing noise regulations outside of the bylaw, information only, because we felt it was important for our residents to have information about the Mass DEP and about stationary noise sources, the ones that we talked about that tend to fall under industrial or business. And so we stated that code. And we also there said if there's to notify the Board of Health to lead enforcement on sort of these sort of chronic or long-term. This section, let me see,
Was reviewed by
reviewed
council.
by council who recommended it not be in the bylaw. So we were going to discuss that from our Board of Health perspective. One thing just of note is that we're citing existing regulation. However, earlier in the bylaw, like under the truck idling, they discuss current mass regulation. And I think I had sent you guys a while back the actual wording for this section. But she'll bring it up.
Okay, so
And
just right there.
And select board at least has some members who do not recommend that it be in the bylaw.
Correct, and I'm just gonna pull it up for others. Okay, so it's section 9, so, right, so town council's opinion was that you don't put something like this in a town bylaw because it exists it already exists.
Oh,
It's already codified, right?
Okay.
And I think the last time that we talked about this noise bylaw in general, the question was, did we want to add anything else outside of this section from a Board of Health perspective? And we agreed that we should do a rules and regs specific for Southborough Board of Health to enforce, right?
And we
That's
could
kind of,
put that potentially in Board of Health.
I don't think we would even need to put it as a bylaw because I think we have more, we have more authority
Yeah.
by the state than what's necessarily being proposed here. So I know we're already moving in that direction. I think we just need to take action and start actually drafting our rules and regs and going through the proper channels. So I actually didn't have an issue with this except I'm not comfortable going against town council on something that he's opined on, that it shouldn't be in here. Now, we already, I understand that maybe people don't know where to go for this, but I think maybe what we should do before because we're obviously not gonna have rules and regs before town meeting, right? Like, that's gonna take some time for us to come up with and to make sure like that we're covering the base. I mean, it's a wide breadth of things that we're responsible for, right? But maybe we just come up with something on our webpage around what the state rules are, like kind of put this information out there, so at least people have access to it easily from the town website. So that they're aware, because I think that's what the concern is that we're putting a noise bylaw in place, but then you have this big other piece that the Board of Health is responsible for that is under our purview, that we could do through rules and regs. So I don't know if I did not follow the last noise committee meeting, and I'm not sure kind of where they landed on this.
Thursday night at the noise committee is sort of where I heard from one of the noise committee members who had heard you mention that this would be discussed at Board of Health. So they didn't make they're like, we've already endorsed this, we've already presented this, this is what we endorse. Obviously, it's being reviewed outside. So they were not going to do anything further with their presentation, but they were under the impression, which is happening now, that this is going to be discussed at Board of Health, and then sort of Board of Health may make a recommendation to select board.
Yeah, so what I've asked the town administrator, so the select board's meeting tonight to endorse, to sign the warrant. So what I've asked the town administrator to do is dependent on where we land. I will bring that back tonight to let the select board know what our position on it is. Because I think, and I don't want to speak for the noise bylaw committee, but when they were on last week, I think that they felt like Board of Health put this in there and they didn't want to take it out without us discussing. And so at the select board,
they'll they've presented this, they understand it's gonna be.
they understand that.
It's gonna go through, select board is gonna go through, council is gonna go through.
Right, okay. And so at the select board meeting, I said what our last discussion had been, but that I didn't know town council's opinion when we talked about this. Obviously, that was reviewed after. And so that's when at the select board meeting, I said that I would bring it to this meeting today. And then we would discuss, I would have update the select board tonight, and the town administrator has 2 versions of the warrant ready to go. One with it in, one without it in.
Okay.
So I think everybody just wanted to be respectful of our position. And make sure that we were doing what's best for what should live in a bylaw. And then make sure that we have that we're using our authority appropriately, right? Which is totally within our jurisdiction to do our rules of regs.
Okay.
So that's where we're at. I don't think by taking it out, we're sending a message that we're not engaged in dealing with noise. I think, and I don't know what your opinion is.
No, I mean, I think that the committee, discussed this and landed on keeping it in, obviously.
Right.
And that's what's presented.
Yeah.
From the committee in terms of just that knowledge, I guess, and where to turn for our residents. This is obviously pertinent.
Right.
To the town residents.
Correct. And that's why I think making sure that it's out there on, like, if we can add it to the web, put a noise, I don't think we have a noise tab on our town page. And that way, at least we can get it out there. And then I think that should probably be one of our next projects, in terms of formulating. Are you okay with taking this section out of the proposed bylaw?
Strongly either way, so
I mean, what would be, is there a negative to taking it out?
I think you're gonna get more support if you, well, you're gonna get more support from the selectmen if you take it out, based on the conversation that happened last week. I think, I mean, it doesn't take away any authority, because we already have it,
Right.
and I just am not. I guess I hadn't thought about that you don't put something like we don't have any of this language, or it shouldn't be if we do, in a town bylaw. That's what the town
So
council's
until
point is.
until we do, we probably should not have.
I think that all we need to do is do rules and regs. It doesn't need to be a town bylaw. We already have this jurisdiction based on the state. And if the state ever changes it, then you're gonna go back and update the town bylaw. I think that's what this point is you're putting something into your town bylaw that doesn't need to be there.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think I'm fine. with
I'm
that.
fine as
Okay.
long as it keeps the authority to
Yeah.
help me.
Yes.
Taking
I think
anything away from
one
us.
other thing that we could do too
Yeah.
is like, you know, it's kind of like double documented, right? It's like,
yeah.
we could just put the DEP link in the website,
Yeah.
below it, say refer to
Yeah.
DEP
Yes.
if you have
Okay.
more
Yeah.
questions and.
Are you
Um,
raising your hand?
But I would also, I would probably put this actual language on our website, because it does talk about, complaints of the Board of Health, excessive noise being generated.
Right, we could put,
Yeah.
we could put, like, if you have a complaint,
Yeah.
like, this is what you do.
Okay.
And to put it on the website, and
Until we have.
Yeah.
An actual rules and regs, which
Right.
will include all that.
and
Okay.
then you could put like our rules and regs, and then the
Yeah.
DEP
Okay.
regs, like a link to it, so that people could look at it themselves. Because it's a living document, like,
Right.
it will update automatically when you
Right.
click on the link, so.
Right,
Right, it's not much, I can tell you, when you pull this up on state,
Right.
the DAQ1 is literally a PDF that downloads, that was done in like 1980. So it's,
okay. And so the next bullet item on here links into that with the reporting form for noise
Yeah.
complaints. So I
Yes.
think maybe we actually do that as a
Yeah.
short-term solution.
Yeah.
So that way,
Yes.
Yeah. I think, having documentation and having a paper trail is so important with
Yeah.
this stuff, right? And I think we probably haven't had a
agree.
consistent way of documenting it. So I think we have some short-term
Yeah.
things that we can do, and then obviously, we need to work on the long term.
Exactly.
Okay, Tim, go ahead.
Sure. First, I agree with town council, this section doesn't belong.
Right.
And I think there's a third thing beyond the bylaw and rules and regs that would be really helpful. And that would be if a brochure were produced that says, how do I deal with the noise issue in Southborough? Because it's really complicated. There are overlapping jurisdictions and different starting points depending on what kind of noise you're dealing with. And I think this is a place where the health department could take the lead in, because you see, I think what the noise committee is trying to do is solve the problem of where do I go?
Right,
What is this, where do I go? And I don't think rules and regs are going to give people an answer to that problem. They answer a different problem, which is, what's allowed. So I think if you could put together a brochure that, maybe there's a flow chart kind of thing that says, if I have a complaint, the first thing I do is I talk to my neighbor. The next thing I do is if it's this kind of thing, I go here, and if it's that kind of thing, I go there. I think that would be helpful to the residents, and I think it would address the issue that the noise committee is trying to address without getting into the legal quagmire that Marty Healy and town council.
okay.
Thank you.
So, I think it probably makes sense for us to vote on this, so that way
Right. Okay.
we're good with it.
Yeah.
And then I'd like to talk about next steps for the rules and regs while we're on. So I'm gonna move that the Southborough Board of Health support taking out section 9 of Article 26 in the 2022 warrant.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So in terms of doing a rules and regs, does anybody have an interest in starting that, or at least figuring out the aspects from maybe some other towns of what we think would be relevant for us?
I mean, just for noise or for other rules and regs?
Noise.
just for noise.
Would we have to wait for this to be approved first?
No,
or-
I don't think so,
Okay.
because I kind of think I think that we, regardless of this, I think if this had never happened, I still think we need to do it.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, so I think it's irrelevant for this. I think that this will just help us and our residents be able to understand what's expected of everyone and then how to like remedy situations maybe a little bit faster than what we've been able to do. To make it more clear. And I'm thinking this is probably like a summer into fall.
Yeah.
project.
we could probably do it together.
Okay, do you guys want to
We
take
don't
the
have
first?
any interns looking.
Well,
I do
we
have
do.
one looking.
Okay.
I'm like, this
That's a
might be
good
a
idea.
Yeah.
great way for an intern or something.
I-
To do the legwork
I
and then
do
we
have
can
you
form it.
Yeah,
I do have US people who want to come
right,
Oh,
to make for the summer.
right,
They're always great and
Yeah.
Oh,
for
very
this type of a
Perfect.
situation.
Yeah,
Great
that's a
idea.
good idea.
okay. And then in the interim, Taylor, can you just update this, I think just this language and the links like you talked about, and just create a page, like a page,
on our website.
Yeah,
and then,
With the complaint form.
the complaint form.
yeah, I'll have to figure out how to do
Right,
that. So
how do you
it's gonna be maybe a week or so.
No,
but I'll
that's
get it
fine,
up.
that's
Yeah.
fine. I think these are short-term
Yeah,
Right.
things
Yeah.
until, okay, okay. Great.
And then everything gets linked up to the DEP and the state, right? So people can just easily link to the state.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Stop sharing. Okay. So Ken's warehouse and planning for Board of Health visits. So we are scheduled to go to Ken's Thursday night.
Where exactly are we meeting?
The parking lot. I would meet in the
In the
parking
back?
lot.
Like-
No, in the front,
In the
like where
front.
you have to ask the guard to let you in.
Okay,
And then park there and there's sort of an entrance. You'll see it. I'll
Okay.
be there.
I guess I have.
They
to
said
go
they're gonna be there at
that.
7:30.
great.
Okay, yep.
So, just a reminder that we can, per open meeting law, meet, but we can't talk about it
Okay.
Okay.
in the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe what we could do is if we need to debrief, we can add that to our 25th.
Sure.
Sure.
Just so that we can
Yeah.
get it,
that's
keep
right.
it moving.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So this is just informational. We're gonna
So-
go. look,
So we're
Observation.
gonna look, I mean, we can look indoors if you want, but I think we mainly want to, we probably want to see a little indoors, because that's where the trucks, the bays, they're loading
Right.
and unloading. When they pull, from the warehouse, the material. I mean, last time, like I said, I did a walk through the whole inside. But I think we also want to look at the configuration of the parking lot and where
Yeah.
these refrigeration units, the trailers, not the trucks, but where the
Right.
trailers, we think are the noise
the
generator
real problem, yeah.
and where they're being held. Because they're staying there for hours at times, is my understanding.
Right.
So, and sort of discuss the kind of operations of, I would think, discuss the operations of, when a trailer comes in, when the trailer goes out, and how that works. I mean, when the truck, they're
Right.
backing, how long does it take when they're actually in the active unloading
Right.
process? So questions like that, and we can, so a lot of those center around the parking lot, basically.
Yeah.
I was at planning board last night. The decision was stayed for 2 more weeks, I guess, with the Ken's expansion. So that's April 25th. In the evening is the latest that's going to be discussed. But it sounded like from that meeting that the lawyer for Ken's had invited planning board members to go Thursday night. None of them can. I mean,
Oh, okay. Okay,
basically, I learned last night, I don't think any of them are gonna come. They had thought initially, they had misheard the invitation as it was an event for the public. I said, no, this is an event for the Board of Health.
yeah,
Yeah, that's fine. But planning board, basically, the members were not available.
Okay.
Thursday was such short notice, but then that was fine. The Kens had invited them as well,
okay,
but they're not coming, I understand.
thank you.
So I'll be there at 7:30.
Yep, I would, yeah.
Need to.
That's good.
Yeah, you kind of,
I won't be able to make it.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Plan around me.
Yeah.
Okay.
right, you kind of park, you kind of like the trucks are like that, and there's parking for us kind of this way, kind of past the trucks.
Okay.
within
Okay,
that same
thanks for
parking lot.
organizing that.
Yeah.
Okay, tobacco.
Okay, so I have very good news. We're part of an excellent 14-town district for tobacco, and they provide inspections and compliance checks, and they're helping us with starting to work on our regulations. The state is behind on a number of issues. This being one of them, the funding for tobacco control. It's housed out of Framingham. They provide the grant that's housed there, provides the inspectors and also hiring the underage youth for the compliance checks. The term that's funded right now ends June 30th. So Framingham's been asking them, well, what happens July 1st? That's not that far away. And are we doing another round of grant applications, RFR? Basically, they just heard that, hey, we're behind. We can't pull off another round of applications. We are going to notify you within the next 3 weeks of the extension, either 6 months or 1 year, without having to reapply for it, but it's at a minimum, it's 6 months.
Okay.
And during that time, they're going to put out another round in an RFR and applying for grants for our district. But
Okay.
that's what we know now, that they're just behind on having us apply.
Okay.
To keep the grant funding for this project.
Okay.
But it's working well.
Good.
So I think, we'll have a strong application going forward when that does come up again. Olivia Dufour is the lead inspector. We appointed her last March. I just think as a yearly thing, we should just probably reappoint her.
Through when do you, so do through end of March next year?
We can try that. Like I said, this isn't exactly clear how long this will go, but I would
Okay.
do it as sort of an annual thing.
Yeah. Okay, so I move that we reappoint Olivia Dufour as our Metro West Tobacco Control District rep for Southborough.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, so that's, sorry, I amend my motion to say through 3/31/23.
I second the amended motion.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'm forgetting to say aye. Okay. Southborough regs and smoking in public places.
You had mentioned putting the public places, I mean, I can update what's happening with the regulations, so you don't, per se, you mentioned that last week, I
I
thought. Okay, but if not, then no worries.
I don't remember.
Okay,
Okay.
fair enough.
Sorry.
I had heard that last week, that there was potentially something to discuss about public places, but in terms of the regulations, I think Nancy, if I can grab you for like 1 minute. on a
Yeah, I
couple
thought it
things.
was, I had gone over it with you. I'm sorry.
We did once. We had a
Okay,
nice
all
phone
right.
call
Yes.
a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to update it.
Okay, all right. Sorry
Discussion
about
with you. Then we'll start drafting,
Yeah.
and that's with Olivia and
Okay.
Sarah McColgan. We'll
Alright.
start actually drafting the regulations. I did have a phone call yesterday, a request from a national tobacco outlet wanting to see our draft regulations
Oh.
when we did
Wow.
have them there
Interesting.
following. But this will be part of a public process in that hearing with at least 2 weeks' notice. And the state can guide us on kind of
The
changes
process.
to the process.
Okay, great.
With the smoke in public places, I mean, is it more thinking about where, obviously you can't smoke on school grounds. So we're looking
Right.
at other public outdoor places where we want to put in no smoking signs. Is that what we're thinking of maybe with this?
I'm
Because
not
I
sure.
agree,
I
I think it would be
Maybe
great
you
if we
didn't
say
mention it. I
like
thought
I
I heard it.
I'm
town
sure I did.
property, no smoking on any town-owned property, which we can,
We don't have that already? No
do we
town?
have that? Because I know it's only
assume
school
I assume
property. I thought it was only school property.
I can't imagine we don't.
I
'cause
don't
feel
know.
like we
I don't know either.
don't.
It's a good question.
Look it up.
Because this would include like Fayetteville Park, and it would include like other places. that
Yeah.
Potentially people look that aren't, well, some of the parks are on school property, but some of them aren't.
Right.
So.
Okay, I'll find out. So, put this on for our June meeting, or you think that's too soon?
You mean what, review of the draft regulations?
Yeah, that's it, too soon.
I really don't know.
Okay. Pencil it in, and then
Yeah.
if we need to punt it, we can, okay. All right, next is regular meetings, so we just added 4/25.
Yeah, and my husband looked at my
And you're
calendar.
good? Okay, and then let's do, can we figure out our June meeting?
That was at 10:30, you said, right?
Yeah. And what time do you want to do? Oh, we have our June, no, May 10th,
Mhm.
9:30?
Yeah.
Okay, and then, okay, then June,
I'm away. a
you're the
decent
way the
amount
week
in
of the
June.
6th,
What time are you doing the 25th of April?
the 10:30, that's
Not-
10:30, that's definitely Zoom, Barbara,
Oh, that is, okay.
yeah. We can do this again if we want on the
Sure.
May meeting, okay?
So in person.
And then Heather remind me.
I mean,
when you're
I'm
away.
away, I mean, I don't have to be here potentially, but I'm away the 6th to the 16th, so it's,
So do you want to do June 20? You want to say June 21st, and I'll double check to make sure.
There's still school on June 21st.
My littles.
Oh, you're little. I was
The-
gonna
the
say,
They're
yeah,
out, they
they're out,
stopped
they're
too
out.
early.
Oh, no,
The
there's
preschool, right, the
summer school is on
preschool.
the
the preschool. I mean,
Right.
also May 10th to May 31st is 3 weeks. I don't know.
So you wanna do the
Yeah, you
first?
want to do,
That's 3 weeks. There's
yep, they're still in school then, that works for me. You
Yeah.
guys want to do that?
31st, sure.
What day is that?
Tuesday.
That right after. is that-
Memorial
Memorial
Day.
Day.
Yeah, that's fine, because I'm on Memorial Day, so
Okay.
I know I'll be off too.
All right, so let's do 9:30 on the 31st. And then,
What time, sorry?
9:30?
Is that in person?
That can be.
Or
You-
to
or
be
does-
decided?
You want to decide it later? We can decide it later.
To be
We'll shoot
decided.
for May 10th to be in person.
Yeah.
April 25th will be Zoom,
Zoom.
and then we'll decide on the 31st.
To
And
be
then for
decided, okay.
June, I could do the 21st. Can you guys do that?
I can
Pretty
request
sure.
that off. That's also a Tuesday?
Yeah,
So what are we doing May 31st?
now we'll just, I think we're just gonna have a lot to get.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
so
see.
it's like I
I
just-
think you're putting an extra meeting in. Oh, okay.
Well,
they're
I'm
sort
try-
of
I
3
just, I
weeks
would like to,
apart.
I'd like to get more done before the
Oh.
summer, so we
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
have
yeah,
to do
absolutely.
business
That's
during the
one
summer. And then I'm thinking, I think we have until, so I'm gonna be away. July's gonna be a little chaotic for
Yeah,
me,
right.
so can we do so I think we have until July 15th, Barbara, to do Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
So can we plan on our July meeting being Zoom and do maybe July 12th, unless you guys are away?
Nope.
I'm not
here
away
till
the 12th.
So let's shoot for 7/12 on
Zoom.
Zoom,
9:30?
9:30,
And
yeah,
is June 21st, the 9:30 as well?
yeah. Okay,
There's a couple that are 3 weeks apart, but I think
I
that's
think that's
fine.
okay.
Things come
I mean,
up.
I think we have, and then, depending on what's going on, we'll decide what to do for August.
Sure, sure.
Okay. Okay, and then, for our May meeting, we'll reorganize too, because that'll be
Right.
after the election and all that, okay? Okay. Okay, okay, anything else before I go to public comment? Okay, so public comment. I'm missing seeing Mr. Lick's name on the screen here.
Sorry about that.
Okay, I don't see anybody's raising their hand, so the board will be entering into executive session per MGL Chapter 38, Section 21, and not returning to open session to discuss contract for the public health director, as the chair has determined that an open meeting may have been may have a detrimental effect on the town's position. So I move that the Self Board of Health enter into executive session per the statement that was just read.
I second the motion.
All in favor? Do we have to do a roll call vote for executive session? Yes, okay, so, sorry, Saka,
Aye.
Medina, Malinowski, aye. Thank you, everyone.
Can I just, before we do, Heather, are you gonna be at the office?
I'll be
after
around
this?
today.